Hi everybody, hope that you're doing well. If you're coming back to this channel, welcome back. And if you're new here, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Daisy Delicacy and I'm a professional burlesque performer and you are watching Act It Out, a burlesque web series. Now, I know some people might be confused by that because the first episode of the series, I said it was a burlesque video podcast. But the truth is, I don't really know how to make this into a proper podcast. And while it is video, it is me talking and sitting down like a podcast, I'm just gonna call it a web series for now because that's ultimately really what it is. So, welcome to Act It Out, a burlesque web series. Everybody clear? Okay, good. In this series, I talk a lot about my experience as a burlesque performer, specifically the acts that I perform, and today is no exception. In my first episode, I talked about the very first burlesque act I ever performed for an audience, and today I'm going to be talking about the first burlesque act I ever filmed. And just to clarify before we go on, when I say the first burlesque act I ever filmed, I'm talking about the first burlesque act that I ever filmed on my own in terms of recording it, getting it ready to submit to people that could hire me for shows and festivals and for my website and whatnot. Because the story of the first act I ever filmed with somebody else is completely different, and that will be a later episode. So I hope you tune into that. But for now, I'm just talking about the first act that I ever filmed on my own. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first burlesque act I ever filmed on my own, and I say on my own, but it wasn't really just me filming it, my wonderful fiance helped me film it, was an act called Tulip or Turnip. And it's to a song by the singer Helen Carr. There's actually a lot of different versions of the song on Spotify and on YouTube. You can go check it out and listen for yourself. I chose this version of the song because it's a pretty standard version, and while I love the more jazzier, the more experimental versions, for dancing purposes, I really wanted something that was a bit more straightforward. So I found the song actually because it was recommended to me on Spotify. I have a big playlist on Spotify of songs that I like to use for burlesque acts, songs that inspire me, songs that I've made acts to, songs that I want to make acts to, and this was no exception. So I heard the song on Spotify, I really loved it, and I put it in there. I also, when I was first starting out with burlesque a couple years ago, wanted to do something that was a little bit more gimmicky to my name. My name is Daisy Delicacy, so I wanted to do something that was a bit floral themed, flower themed, if you will. I had an idea for a daisy act at first, but it never really came to fruition. So I started thinking, okay, what other flowers do I like? I really love tulips. Are there any songs out there about tulips? There are. So my idea in it was originally to be a tulip, but as I started dancing more and developing the act in my head and what I wanted it to be, it turned into more of a tulip aesthetic than just a literal tulip. The thumbnail for these videos is actually the costume for the act. I'm going to put a little bit of the act in this video too for you to see. You can see the teaser for it on my YouTube channel as well, which I will link so everybody can watch it. But the concept is that I'm tulip aesthetic and it's very classical burlesque. Just a lot of glove peeling, a lot of traditional like wink, smile, tease. I have a corset on in the number. I also do some tassel twirling at the end. I would show you bits of the costume, but they're way under my bed right now in my costume bin. Don't want to go dig them out. You can see pictures of the costume on my website and here, so I'm sure that'll be fine. So yeah, the concept of the number is just me dancing around to the song, acting very flirty and kind of indecisive because the song is about tulip or turnip, this thing or that thing, and it's very kind of like, well, what's gonna happen? Why don't you tell me? So I do faces like that. You can see in the thumbnail I have a very kind of cheeky grin, kind of a come hither grin too. It's silly, it's fun. So yeah, that's what that act's about. Before I continue, if you hear any additional noise, I apologize. It's just the people that also live in my apartment building. What are you gonna do? So I was developing the act in, well, not early 2020, more like mid 2020 when I was home during the height of the COVID pandemic. And then when I came back to New York City in late 2020 into early 2021, I really started making the act into what it is now. A lot of my costume pieces, again, are from Amazon, but the pasties that I have, again, I'm not gonna show you because they're in my room, buried in my costume bin, but they are beautiful. I will link the Etsy shop I got them from in the video description for you to see. They're beautiful, they're tulips, they have gorgeous tassels on them. The gloves that I have for this act are also from Amazon, but I got the crystals and the gems that I put on them from High Trim and Feathers, which is in New York City. The design, you can't really see in the thumbnail or even in the actual video of the act, but they have a little bit of a vine design on them because I'm a flower, I'm a tulip. It needs to be kind of naturey, it needs to be kind of outdoorsy, if you will. So I spent a couple of months just rehearsing the act in my living room, trying out different moves, trying to solidify everything that I wanted in it, where I was gonna tease, where I was gonna keep stuff on, where I was gonna do a glove peel or twirl my tassels or get the skirt off or do this turn or this step. That's pretty common when it comes to creating a burlesque act, at least for me. It takes me anywhere from 1 to maybe 4 months to really develop the choreography and the concept and what I want in it, what I don't want in it, and get it to a place where I feel like, okay, I can film this, I can put it on tape, I can do a good job, and once I film it, it will be in submittable condition. And when I say submittable condition, I mean for job opportunities, for festivals, all that kind of stuff. So I decided that I was going to film it at Ripley Greer Studios, which is a very big studio space in New York City. For those of you that aren't in New York or unfamiliar with it, this is the place where a lot of auditions happen in New York. You can go and rent a studio for however much. They have studios of all different sizes and prices and whatnot. It's in Manhattan, so it is kind of on the pricey side, but I don't think it's unreasonable by any means. So I went there, I think on a Saturday in March of 2021 with my fiance, my wonderful fiance, who always helps me film my burlesque acts. And that day we actually filmed 2 acts, but Tulip or Turnip was the first one that we filmed. And here's a pro tip for anybody if you are filming a burlesque act in a studio, really make sure you know what size the studio is before you go. Because when we got there, the studio was a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be, which was my fault. I didn't really read what it said on the website all that carefully. I thought, oh, this is a perfect size. I can just go and dance and it'll be fine. Who cares if it's a little small? No. Always opt to get a bigger studio if you can, because it makes editing so much easier. It makes dancing so much easier. I felt, even though that I did the full act, I felt like I was dancing in a box because the studio was very, very small. This is my way of saying it was small, in case you didn't tell. Yeah, so it was something. And I won't lie, it was kind of difficult to film that act there. It wasn't just filming the act, it was dancing there, making sure that I could get as many takes as I wanted. And that's the thing I should mention too. When you're filming a burlesque act, it's totally different from performing it in front of an audience. If something goes wrong in front of an audience, such as a tease doesn't happen at the right time, you get stuck in your costume, a piece goes flying somewhere, the music skips, you figure it out, you move on, it's a live performance, the audience gets it. But the thing is, when you're filming it, you have the opportunity to go back, restart, and get it as perfect as you want, which can be really great. But for someone that's a perfectionist like myself, you start noticing every little thing you're doing wrong or that you don't like or you think could be better. And it got very, I got very in my head about it when I was filming. And it was also the first act I had ever filmed. I wanted it to be solid and good and look like, even though I was new, I was professional. You understand what I mean? Yeah, you understand what I mean. What am I saying? Of course you understand what I mean. The point is, I just really wanted it to be good. And each time I watched a take of it or something didn't go completely right when I was performing it, I was like, stop, restart. And I was getting kind of stressed out when I was filming it. But we did get a good take of it. We did make it happen. And that's the most important thing. Here's the funny thing about that act though, is even though I filmed it and it is technically my oldest act, I have still yet to perform it for a live audience or even for a film project or for anything, really. I have publicity photos of the costume for the act, which were taken by Philip Ramsey. If he's watching, he's awesome. Thank you, Philip. You're great. I will link his info in the video description so you can all go follow him because he's awesome. But the weird thing is I've never performed that for an audience yet, which is unusual because I thought for sure when I was creating the act and making it as specific and solidified as I did, that it was going to be my signature act, the thing that I would perform for the most audiences, people would know me for, and I have yet to perform it for a bigger crowd. Admittedly, I don't submit this act as much as some of the other ones because as proud as I am of the act, it is still my first act. And you can kind of tell as I've progressed as a performer, oh, her skills are a bit more sharper now in these acts than in that one. So yeah, I don't know. I will submit it for other festivals for sure and other job opportunities. I did actually submit it for a job opportunity a couple weeks ago. That didn't work out, but what you gonna do? So with that said, now I'm gonna show you a little bit of a clip from the act. The full teaser of the act is available on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to see the full act, especially if you're looking to hire a burlesque performer. But if you are looking to hire someone, please email me at my email address that's included in the video description. So without further ado, let's look at a little bit of Tulip or Turnip. Bye!
Tulip or turnip, rosebud or rhubarb, filet or plain beef stew. Tell me, green face, what am I to you? Diamond or doorknob, sapphire or sawdust, champagne or just homebrew. Tell me, green face, what am I to you? Do I get the movie prize, or will I be the hero? Am I headed for blue skies, or is my ceiling zero? Tulip or turnip, moonbeam or mud pie, bankroll or IOU. Tell me, dream face, what am I to you?
Another thing too about that particular teaser for the act is I noticed little things that didn't go perfectly when I was filming, but that's the thing you learn as you film more and more acts. If something doesn't go 100% perfect when you film it, it's fine. The whole idea of filming a burlesque act for something like this is just so people can see what you can do, what the act is gonna be like. If there's teeny little mistakes, no one's really gonna care. And I know that's hard for me to accept being the perfectionist that I am, but it's true. And that's good advice for anyone out there if you are filming burlesque acts, if you're getting started, whatever. Just bear in mind, teeny little mistakes are not gonna completely exclude you from booking jobs or getting into festivals, whatever. It's a good thing that I need to remind myself. A good lesson that I can use to remind myself. That made more sense, sure. Another thing that teaser made me think of is when I was developing the costume for this act, I originally wanted to have a skirt that would close in the front that I could tease with that way, but I couldn't find one at the time. I didn't feel as confident with my costume making abilities, so I just got kind of a petticoat skirt I found on Amazon. I think it still looks cute. I still think it looks great for the act. And it turned out fine, but that's the thing. When you have a different costume piece than what you originally intended for burlesque, it changes your choreography. So initially it was gonna be a slow tie off and like a tease like that, but instead it just kind of comes off. You don't really see that in the teaser, but if you ever see the full act live, which I hope you all will do at some point, that's what happens. All that said, Tulip or Turnip was a very, very fun first act to film. I'm so glad that it's part of my act repertoire. And I really hope that you all enjoyed watching the teaser for it and this episode too. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you all soon. Thanks again so much for watching this series, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.